Ladies and gentlemen, chess is hard. Watching chess is hard. Playing chess is hard. And learning chess is hard. But on this channel, we try to do things in a way that make the chess journey a little bit less hard. And in this video in particular, I'm going to be diving into what I believe to be the single greatest mistake that something like 95 to 99% of chess players do incorrectly in their games. And it basically revolves around one question. And that question is, what does my opponent want? To slightly rephrase that question, it would be, does my opponent have any threats? Does my opponent have any desires in this particular position? I've asked a bunch of my subscribers to submit games. They're all very brave for doing so. I'll be going through 4 games that my subscribers lost so we can address this fundamental issue. And before we jump into the games today, I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, or a virtual private network, which allows you to encrypt your connection to the internet so you can browse it privately and anonymously. And as I've been saying for about a year now, there are several reasons why you might want to use a VPN. For example, you may want to watch some content that's just not available in your country, like on a streaming service. Well, if you use Surfshark and connect to a country with a different catalog, boom, your favorite show like The Office or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia will return. You know, I've even heard from some subscribers that if they try to watch videos on my courses website, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's because of weird video embedding settings, but if you use Surfshark, then boom, the chess videos will come back. And of course, another major reason to use a VPN is geo-pricing. For example, the next time you want to book a plane ticket or a hotel for a vacation, connect using Surfshark to a different location. You might be shocked at the price differences that they are charging you. And Surfshark is available on unlimited devices, so you can use it on your phone, iPad, laptop, desktop, probably even your refrigerator at this point. Not really, but in 5 years, who knows? Secure your privacy today with Surfshark. Enter the coupon code Gotham for 3 extra months free at surfshark.deals/Gotham. With the power of video editing, I changed shirts for this. Now let's get back to the video. Thanks, sponsored Gotham. My friends, I understand that chess is a difficult game. And frequently when you are playing a game, let's say on your phone or your computer, you might not be actively thinking about the fact that you're going to end up in a Gotham video a short while later. I understand that. And the truth is that many of us just play chess. We don't necessarily study it like we do school subjects. But this game was submitted to me. And in this game and all the others, we will be addressing the fundamental question of what does my opponent want and whether that was addressed or not. All right? And the last game of this video will be a game where all of those questions were addressed very, very well. It was a very high-level game. So this first game, White opens up with the king's pawn, 700 rated players in the rapid rating. And the Gotham subscriber with the black pieces plays the Caro-Kann. White plays queen f3 because they're 700, and White is still trying to win the game in 4 moves with a scholar's mate. Scholar's mate doesn't work against d5, and Black already enjoys a very comfortable position from the Caro-Kann. Now, White here plays bishop here. The reason why White played bishop to e2 is because, well, White wanted to go there. That's, you know, and White didn't really think it through. So White decides, well, I wanted to move my bishop anyway, so let me move my bishop. Now, at this point, you can already begin asking, like, what does my opponent want? But the truth is that Black already got what they want, and Black takes the entirety of the center. This is perfect. This is excellent. White plays d3. At this point, it's really difficult to answer what does White want. If I'm being honest with Black, I'm just going to do this, and castle. I don't like that Black plays knight e7. It's a little bit passive for my liking, but it's a little bit too early to judge. Pawn takes, knight d2. Yeah, I wouldn't move that knight to c6. There's a knight that could go there in 1 move. You understand what I'm saying? But again, not exactly the biggest deal. Knight h3, what does White want? If I'm being honest, still kind of difficult to say. And now we have a problem. Now I have a problem with the way Black is handling this, because Black is not castling, Black is not finishing up their development, Black is not bringing out the bishop. Black plays bishop takes h3. That is a non-starter for me. A good rule of thumb, my friends, is if you don't have a good reason to trade a bishop for a knight, if it doesn't damage your opponent's pawn structure, if it doesn't create a tactical possibility for you, if you cannot explain why you are trading the bishop for the knight, don't do it. And if the explanation is what does my opponent want, knight g5, queen f7 mate, it might be time to stop taking hallucinogens because that is not possible for a variety of reasons. The queen can't go over the pawn. The pawn is also covering that square. So, all right, good rule of thumb, bishop d6, knight f3, and now, again, can't stress this enough. We're not, what are we doing? We can't even explain certain moves that are being played right now. There's no explanation for these moves. If you ask me, what does my opponent want? Probably something over here, right? But is that worth, dealing with? If you're worried about the queen, trade the queen. If you're worried about getting mated, right? What does my opponent want? Active queen. But we can't explain this move. What does my opponent want? Some attacking ideas. Okay, if we're worried about the queen again, I would try to trade it. Yeah, we're not castled. We shouldn't push pawns. Now, what does my opponent want? They want to open the position. That's what they want to do because, right, black also opened the position, and I don't support this. I don't support opening our king and trading off pieces in front of our king. I don't like that. But it's still an okay position, according to the computer. But now this. And that move at the 700 level definitely looks like it makes sense. But what does my opponent want? They're going to want our king. We left our king in the center. You've got to be careful leaving your king in the center. And now white is totally winning. White doesn't find the best way, but what does my opponent want? My opponent wants to get out of the fork. Right? Like right now, white is panicking. So what does my opponent want? They're trying to get out of the fork. They trade. They do get out of the fork. And now they're safe, right? Knight to f4. This is a great move by black. Finally, we are addressing the question of what does my opponent want? All right? Dust is settling. Also, I've got a threat, and I'm threatening the knight. And white does not ask themselves, what does my opponent want? Hanging two pieces in the process. Great move by black. Grabs the bishop. Black is winning. Knight d6 check. Discover check. All right. What does my opponent want? Well, they want to attack my king. So I could either walk into the center or hide behind the pawn. What's the best follow-up? What do we think? What's safer? What does my opponent want? My opponent's going to want to attack my king, right? I kind of get why black went here. Because black probably thought, well, I'm attacking the knight. I wouldn't leave the king out in the open like this. You got to think more than a move ahead. Yeah, you just have to. You got to think more than a move ahead. Now, what does my opponent want? This doesn't really address that. And that's why it would have been better to just hide the king, right? Hide the king. What does my opponent want? They want to attack my king. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And now a major question. Depending on where you move your king, white is going to have another check. What does my opponent want? They want to attack my king. What am I going to do? I'm going to make a move where there's no checks. The only way to do that is to play king to c8. That is the only move. There is no check from the rook or the knight. We can't go here because we allow rook f7. Now white goes here, hanging a rook. Oh my goodness, it's the wrong rook. And black can just take the rook and be up a rook. But oh, this is mate in one. This is checkmate in one move. What does my opponent want? They want to attack us. That was 4 seconds spent. White misses it. But then white gets in, and now it's over. Now there's nothing you can do. So white didn't see mate in one, but does swarm and gets black into an unstoppable checkmate situation. Black stops one of the mates, but unfortunately gets mated. That was not a game of asking ourselves, what does my opponent want? It was a little bit of a chaotic opening, but again, some quick things to follow. Don't give the bishop for the knight for no reason, right? Don't push and open up the position of your king. If you've already made moves, stop. Stop it. Get your king to safety. If you're worried about the opponent's attacking piece, trade the queen. There's a lot of stuff to learn from this game, and we don't want to open the position. What does my opponent want? They want the king. That's what they want. They want the king. Black did a nice job fighting back, but sadly, not good enough. Now, in this game, Gotham subscriber once again is playing with the black pieces. We're just going to go up the rating ladder. We're going 1,000. We got 1,200, and we're going to end with an 1,800 level game. Here, black is the higher rated player by nearly 200 points, okay? I like that username, the Resign Gambit. This one, a London. I mean, listen, it wouldn't be an instructional chess video unless we had a London being covered. Knight c6. All right. What does my opponent want? So far, they're just playing in the opening. I mean, this is odd. Like, again, just like the previous game, you shouldn't make multiple moves in the opening with the pieces. I mean, we should get castle. That's the way we should play. But all right, fine. All right, you want to do it this way. You're not losing. You're developing your pieces. Now, c4. What does my opponent want? They want to pressure my center, and if I take, they want to develop a piece. They want me to lose a center pawn. So black takes. No, you can ask yourself these questions in the opening too. No, don't take. Play here. Maintain center, right? Get the bishop out. What does my opponent want? They play c4 because they want you to... Why are you taking? Why are you giving them the center? What does my opponent want? All right, some pressure. No threats, though. Maybe they want this, right? We got to start thinking a move ahead. Okay, but for now, you know, if I'm playing black, I'm playing a6. But one of the other moves you could play is bishop here. You're not in bad shape yet. Takes. Now, me personally, I would get the queen into the game because my opponent has a queen in the game as well. But fine, c takes. Look, that's what our opponent wants, right? They're attacking our knight. For some reason, black castles. It actually turns out not to be the wrong move according to the computer, because if you play rook c8, white could actually even take this pawn. Whether this was seen at this level is to be determined, but what does my opponent want? I'm a little confused why we didn't play defense, right? Like, I'm a little bit... I understand the computer is saying it's not the top move, and I just told you the computer says it's this, but good rule of thumb is, like, if something's under attack, you should probably protect it. And now white is just up a pawn. What does my opponent want? Well, my opponent wants to castle. If I'm looking at this position, I'm thinking, what does my opponent want? They want a castle. They want a castle. So I would play here. I would not even hesitate. There are other moves to prevent white from castling. This physically prevents white from castling, right? Right now, white doesn't have a threat. That's not what white wants. This move prevents white from castling because it hangs a knight. Right? You can't castle now. And if you play something like rook d1, well then heck, I can play bishop here, I can put a rook on that square, I can still play bishop d3. What does my opponent want? Black plays rook c2. I do not dislike that move. I do not dislike it. What does my opponent want? Excellent. Now, what does my opponent want? Well, they saved the pawn, but we're going right there. That's what I'm doing next. I'm not even hesitating. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That is not asking ourselves, what does the opponent want? The opponent wants a couple of things. They want a castle, which they can't exactly do at this moment, but they want the bishop. I mean, the queen is staring at the bishop. You gotta mentally it's just gotta be there. Mentally, you just gotta go, what is my opponent seeing? It's right there. It's the most powerful piece. And it's the only piece that the queen sees. It doesn't see anything else. Now, if I ask you how many squares the queen sees, a lot. A lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't count. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And backwards. Sees a lot of squares. But this is inexcusable. No. And now white castles, white hangs the knight. Black now decides, I'm going to take. I'm not going to take. I'm going to play bishop d3. And now pandemonium. Take. Okay. What does my opponent want? My opponent wants to take the bishop. All right, we get the bishop out of danger. That's easy. What? Now, the way you avoid doing stuff like this was either a blind spot or black spent 2 seconds going, I'm going to sack my bishop and open up the king. Open king is good. Open king is dangerous. No. The way we prevent stuff like this, the way we prevent stuff like, I'm sacrificing a bishop for a check. Do you have 2 more attacking pieces than they have defenders? The answer is no. Sometimes it doesn't matter if the answer is no, because you have a knockout. You ain't got no knockout. Literally, you can reject bishop takes and check by just thinking one more move ahead. And we're not doing that. What does my opponent want? What's my opponent going to do? Ask yourself, what's my opponent going to do? Black did this just to give a check. That's it. Just to give a check. What is my opponent going to do? They're going to run to safety. Do I have a follow-up? No. Now, At this point, you gotta go, what does my opponent want? Well, my opponent probably wants to bring the rook, and my opponent wants to trade pieces because they're winning. So then how in a million years, how can you play this? There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. My opponent, of course they want to trade queens. White would pay 20 bucks to trade queens. If chess was pay to win, the game would pause and say, deposit 20 chess.com units right now to trade the queens. How can you play this move in 2 seconds? You spend 2 seconds sacrificing a bishop and 2 seconds trading a queen, and now you're completely lost. Why? Why are we not stopping and going, what does my opponent want? Now if I'm playing black, it's over. Now if I'm playing white, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to just slowly walk my pieces forward, trade, win some pawns, and win the game. F3, G5, okay. Okay. Yeah, but we're just losing pawns now. We're not even, okay. Fine. That was a bad move by white. Look, I'm threatening this and this. White can save one of the pawns. White can play king g3. White can play knight f3 defending that pawn. Right? You can choose. Instead, white played this move and blundered both pawns. That's not good. Like, we don't want to do that. White didn't stop and think, what does my opponent want? What does my opponent want? They want that pawn. So let me defend it for another move. Nope. Okay. Now, what does my opponent want? They want to go win the rest of my pawns. Okay. I'm doing my best. Yep, but it's not good enough. And now white should just promote. Nope. White should just promote. That's what white should do. Nope. What? No. No, 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 no. No. Why? Why are we doing? Oh my God. But now there's rook f1 check. Yep. And that's winning. Okay. Rook g5, and white goes on to win the game. Check, check, and it's mate. Why did black lose that game? 2 moves. Black is playing 10-minute chess, and on the 18th move has over 9 minutes. Both these players need to calm down, by the way. Sacrificing the bishop and trading the queen. These 2 moves. Just not thinking, like, what does my opponent want? Well, they want to simplify the game. That's what they want to do. That's what my opponent wants. That's what my opponent wants. And that was not addressed in this game. All right? Now, next. This was a crazy game. This was 1260. 1260 is early intermediate. This is intermediate chess right here. This game did not address the question of what does my opponent want probably about 20 times on both sides. So watch, okay? Watch. It was a Carl Khan. Started out pretty normal. Carl Khan defense, advanced variation. Knight f3, take. Knight c6. What does my opponent want? Well, black went here and thought white wants to take on c6 with the bishop. What does my opponent want? This is not complicated. My opponent is threatening my knight. So guard the knight. I mean, folks, you are not Gordon Ramsay. Stop cooking fancy stuff in the kitchen. It's going to burn down. White is just winning now after this. You can't take because you lose the queen. You can't take this because you lose the rook. What is going? What is happening? You just lost the game in 6 moves. But white takes with the bishop. They don't take with the knight. And then doesn't take the pawn either. It's free pawn. Okay, fine. Yeah, now black just defends the center, and now black is doing very well. So my Gotham subscriber here got themselves in a little trouble. And now, again, just like the last game, don't sacrifice pieces if you only have a queen attacking. White goes for a sacrifice and is now completely lost. If I'm playing black, what does my opponent want? My opponent wants to attack me. What do I want? I want to trade pieces. Bishop f4. With black, I'm thinking rook f8. I'm thinking consolidate maybe. Okay, knight f5. Knight a4. What does my opponent want? They want to take my bishop. I mean, this is a one mover. It's not addressed. White takes the... Folks, this is not excusable chess. This is not... Rook takes b2, fine. What does my opponent want? Well, if I'm playing white, I'm thinking rook here, and I'm thinking get in on that side, because that side's open and this side is all congested. Instead of that, white hangs a knight in one move. I think there was an idea here to sacrifice the knight, maybe, to try to get the queen over here. But what are we doing? Okay. Takes. You could take the rook now. Good. Bishop b5. a4. Yeah, tough move. What does my opponent want? They want to open up that. Now here, black plays a good move. What does my opponent want? They want to get queen b8, queen b7. All right, take. On this move, I can't tell if it was a mouse slip or what happened, but black went here. Now, white is winning. So after all of that drama, rook a1, excellent move. Excellent stuff. Now, what does black want? Black wants to consolidate, okay? Black wants to defend the position. So if I'm playing with white, I'm going to play rook c7, target the knight. I'm going to take on g7, take. Never in a million years do you trade the queens here, all right? Never in a million years. If you're going to trade the queens, you best believe you're going to win this endgame. Now, secret, trading the queens is actually forced. Now, why'd you say never in a million years trade the queen? Well, you best be ready to win the endgame if you're going to trade these queens. And what I mean by that is, you should have been ready for that when you took this pawn. I would have played rook c7. Why would I have played rook c7? Because rook c7 prevents the trade of queens because of rook c8. So I'm saying, it's too late now. You took a pawn. What does my opponent want? They want to relieve the pressure. That's what they want to do. If I'm playing with white, I will never trade the queens. Ever. I'll play rook c7. If you take with the knight, you get mated. But now it's a little bit too late. Okay. So how are we going to win this endgame? We got to start hunting the pawns. g3. No, it's too slow. It's too slow. I love that. Okay, let's start taking. Great. Let's start taking. Oh! It was winning. It was winning. We took back too quickly. Rook c3. No. What does my opponent want? They want the rook to leave. They want the rook to leave. Yeah, now there's rook g4. Now you're too slow. Now you're going to lose your pawns. Oh, my goodness. And then, how did we lose the f pawn? A lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. And now the final dagger. What does my opponent want? They want to take my pawn. How can you just abandon it like that? White gave away so many things in one move in this game, just not thinking, what does black want, right? And one final moment. What? c4 was played. What does black want? Black wants the pawns connected. King up, rook down. Instead of that, that's what happens. Rook c4, and now this is a draw. You just have to know how to draw this game. King d2, king e2, and one final moment. White needed to know how to draw the king and pawn endgame, but that's an endgame thing. That's not really a what does my opponent want type of thing. Yeah, white's got a lot to work on in this game. A lot. Both players in this game had multiple moments. They did not stop and go, what does my opponent want? Now, I'm going to show you a game which was a perfect neutralizing by asking ourselves this question. Now, of course, to look at a game at this level, we do have to go quite a bit high up. Now, here my subscriber is playing with the white pieces, and their opponent is quite a strong, near 2,000 rated player. This was a Scotch. Take bishop c4, Scotch gambit, and white plays this very aggressive line, catching their opponent in a trap with a sacrifice of the bishop, black losing the right to castle, and now white takes on c5 and gets this. Now, a lot of people here with black would get really scared. They got caught, their king is stuck in the center, white is doing very well. Black sits there and goes, what does my opponent want? They want me to take them. They want me to activate more of their pieces. So what I'm going to do now, if I'm playing with black, is I'm going to speed up my development. I'm going to try to trade off my opponent's pieces, speed up my development. White takes, black offers a queen trade. Remember a couple games ago, I said, last game, actually, I said, never in a million years do you trade the queens in this position. Never in a million years do you trade the queen. You can't. You are down a pawn with white. Actually, you offered up a gambit with white. You tried to play a gambit. you're not even playing a gambit anymore. If I'm playing white, I gotta keep my queen on. I gotta prevent black from getting out and castled. I need to use black's queen as a target. Both players asking each other, what do you want? White offers a queen trade. Black breathes a sigh of relief. Of course I'm trading the queen. Because again, black was caught in an opening trap. And now black is worse. And white completely relieves the pressure. Now you may think white is getting help developing. Yes, but in chess, the higher you go, superseding concepts. Yes, I'm helping white develop, but I'm no longer worse. I'm no longer worse. The queen was the most aggressive piece. Black now threatens to trade some pieces and consolidate. White continues to attack. Black plays defense, right? What does my opponent want? Simple chess. Now a fancy moment. Threatening the rook. If takes, it's a fork. A lot of people would panic here. If take, it's a fork on the king and the bishop. So black decides, look, I'm going to lose my rook, but if I take the bishop, I'm going to lose my bishop. What if I take the knight first? If I take the knight and they take my rook, I'm going to take a pawn and another one. Bishop takes f3. I'm going to take the knight first, and if they take me, I can take the bishop. I couldn't take the bishop a move ago because there was a fork. So I deal with one problem. Now I take, and I've got a bishop. I took, a knight and 2 pawns for a rook. And now after knight f6, I will happily make this trade. And now the position's in the balance. Black has a knight and 2 pawns. What does white want? White wants to get the king out of danger and activate their rooks. White wants to open the position and bring the rooks to the game. What does black want? Black wants to make it a nightmare for white to castle. Make it difficult for white to castle. White's king is going to be in dire straits right now. There we go. But here comes the knight. Who's going to guard the pawn? Here comes the knight into d3. King d2. Now, if I'm playing white here, if I'm playing black, I have the option to take this pawn, threatening the rook. If I do that, I got to be ready for one of these moves. I probably would play rook, knight takes pawn. Black decides to play rook f8 and then play c5. And now white is a bit stuck. Depends where white is going to move, right? White could move the bishop to either square, potentially losing a pawn. They lose this pawn. If I'm playing, I got to be careful here with my bishop. Many people here would take and then take again, forgetting the bishop is hanging. Black plays d5. Everything is protected. Takes. What does my opponent want? If take, then take. What does my opponent want? Rook f3 check. White resigns. Perfect game by black. That entire game was spent thinking, what does my opponent want? What can my opponent do? And that's how black managed to win this game. That's why black is rated 1950. A lot less one-move blunders, but also a constant question of, what does my opponent want in this position? What does my opponent see in this position? And what threats can my opponent create in this position? Not just right now, but if I move. That's going back to this game, right? Right here. What does my opponent want? They want a castle. What does my opponent want? They see the bishop. So if I go here, what do they want? Every move you make, the position changes, and you've got to be thinking of your opponent as well. Many chess players make this mistake. You will continue to make this mistake, I promise. But chess is about slowly improving. And then you will get to this level. And then chess is going to be really, really fun. That's all I have for you today. Now get out of here.